back at Yellowhammer Brewing. We haven't been here so long.
Since last fall. This is nice.
I know. We're swinging back around to some of the favorites. They're all our favorites. Let's be real. We have the Solid Sounds beer today. It is a hazy IPA that has like some citrus notes. But I thought was really funny when I read the description for this, and you can kind of taste it too. It's described as tasting a little like spree candy and sweet tarts. And my brain just went, whoa! And I was just like, colors! Yes. And then you look at the can and it's like, colors! So I picked books based on colors, and in my brain went like psychedelic. So
well, that's funny because we did not coordinate this, but I picked my books because of the colors. Because I think sweet tarts and sprees. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a fun one.
This is gonna be so
fun. But it's not overly sweet.
No, it's not overly sweet.
It's a nice light beer for this warm day. You know?
Absolutely.
So I really like it.
Yeah, me too. So these are the books I picked. I went, like I said, kind of for the psychedelic route, and I threw like some music in there because it's called Solid Sounds. And I came up with a kind of an odd array of books. This first one is called Jimi Hendrix Turns 80. It's by Tam Sandlin. It's set in 2022, so next year, y'all. Next year, this could happen.
Anything can happen.
The main character's name is Guy Fontaine. He's a forced retiree, so his job forced him to give up his job. And after an incident involving blacking out and driving a golf cart down the highway in California, his daughter puts him in an assisted living community. The thing about this assisted living community there is, though, all of the residents all believe they were in their prime, in their heyday, like in the 1960s. And particularly they idealize the year 1967, which would be the first year that Jimi Hendrix debuted an album. Jimi Hendrix turns 80. Yeah. And then 2022 is when Jimi Hendrix would have turned 80. But they idealize this year to the point that like their lunch tables in the dining room are separated by where they were located in that year. Were they in San Francisco? Were they like... Yeah, where were they during the summer of love? Like, that is how they categorize themselves. It's very interesting. The book comes to a head where one of the retirees has a cat, and you're not supposed to have animals, and the administration says, no, you have to leave, and it kicks this guy out. Well, everyone else hates that, and they rebel. And basically turn their assisted living facility into a hippie commune. They take down the man who kicked out the guy with the cat, and they turn it into like a hippie commune. And you know what? There's a lot of interesting details in this book, but like, if you really think about the year 1967, there's so much going on. The Summer of Love, Vietnam War protesting, race riots, a lot of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like, they're reliving a good portion of that in here, you know, with their trading their pills around and doing some very interesting things. They renamed the facility the Free Nation of Pepperland. Like, it's a crazy book. It's very cute. It's adult fiction, obviously, I hope.
But it's a comedy.
It's a comedy. I do think it's a good solid comedy. For some of it, there are some notes of, okay, these are people who are getting older and they have the medical issues and the health issues that come along with getting older. So some of that is brought up. But largely funny. Has some commentary about where we are now, what happened then. It's actually a very quick read, too. So if you need something quick, pick it up. You got this one. So I went from my Jimi Hendrix pick to thinking about like hippies and subcultures in general, which is how I found Style Tribes, The Fashion of Subcultures by Carolyn Young. She talks about 30 different subcultures and specifically focuses on the history of style and fashion, but how youth movement drove changes in style and fashion. So she covers 100 years of this, including hippies. And I felt like you would get a kick out of this. Apparently, hippie culture can be traced back to Germany. Something called the Der Wandervogel. I think I pronounced
Der Wandervogel.
There you go. The Wandervogel, which translates to
like the wandering bird or the bird who wanders.
Makes sense for hippies. Basically, a bunch of German immigrants came over to California, bringing ideas about promoting folk music and paganism and healthy organic eating.
Mm-hmm.
And that translated partially into the culture we think of today for hippie living.
Yeah, they kind of revived Norse mythology during the 40s. And so a lot of people got back into that Mother Earth kind of movement. So that would make sense how it could flow into hippies.
Yeah, it's super interesting. There's a lot of that kind of content in this book where this is where this comes from and this is how it led into modern trends. So it goes, like I said, it covers 30 different things, starting with like flappers in the 20s, but it goes through a lot.
The 1920s, not the 2000s.
Yes, 1920s. A century later. I need a rewind. Flappers of the 1920s.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, so this was good. It's actually a very beautiful book. There's a lot of images, so if you want something pretty to look at as well, it's a good one.
That sounds interesting. I like that.
And my last pick, I chose 2 nonfiction books, and I ain't even sorry about it. So my last one is called I'll Take You There, Mavis Staples, The Staple Singers, and The March Up Freedom's Highway by Greg Kot. It is a biography, and don't let Mavis Staple being in the title, like, confuse you, because it is actually more about the band as a whole, not just Mavis Staple. In fact, it actually has a pretty large section talking about Pops Staple, who was the guitarist of the group. Talks about him growing up in the South, Jim Crow era laws, making it in the music business, what the traveling music circuits looked like. And it does track the band from their gospel circuit roots in the 50s to their folk music in the 60s to their soul. I am going to get on a tangent about this. Their soul and their signing on with Stax Records in Memphis in the 70s, which is where everyone just like knows them from. It's actually a very good biography, very readable. It does have some like the juicy gossipy stuff in it too, like Mavis's love affair with Bob Dylan, and their affiliation with MLK, and of course how the music influenced and is influenced by the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
So if you want to know some great stuff about some classic soul band music, I highly suggest this book. And I'm going to get off my soapbox because I could go forever. What you got? What colors were you looking at?
Well, you know, with the beer, it does have that citrusy taste to it. It's got a little grapefruit. And then the colors, and I got the description before I tasted it, and I'm like, the first thing I thought of was India. I've always wanted to go to India. That is
India Pale Ale, hazy IPA.
I mean, it sounds like such a interesting country.
Yeah.
Rich history, rich culture. You know, so I do read a lot of books from Indian authors or people who write about Indian Americans, or so I thought, well, that'll be fun. I got a lot to choose from. I'm going to start with this one. This is The Six Suspects. Now, Vikas Swarup, he also wrote Slumdog Millionaire. Well, what the movie, he wrote the book that Slumdog Millionaire was based on.
Okay.
He is actually an Indian diplomat who writes novels.
What?
I know.
That's cool.
So if you have seen Slumdog Millionaire, it'll kind of give you an idea of how this book is set up, because he really brings in stories, like, from different perspectives.
Okay.
For one large storyline. So this one, The Six Suspects, the movie rights have been bought for this. They were purchased 2 years ago. Now with COVID, I don't know how that's playing out, but you might see this in theaters or at streaming on Netflix or however they're going to do it.
However, modern movie making works these days.
Yeah, I could totally see this being a movie though, because how he writes so detailed, and you really, like, almost to the point where you're in your own story with that person and you forget everything else going on until he brings it right back around. So it starts with this guy who comes from a very wealthy family. He is in the upper class of India. A waitress denies him a drink because he has had far too much to drink already, and the bar is closed. So she just very politely apologizes, "I can't serve you." He, in turn, pulls out a gun and shoots her in front of everybody at the party. And he goes to trial. And all of this is in the first chapter, so I'm not giving anything away. And I think it takes like 7 years for the trial to finally end. He's found innocent because the system is so corrupt with who he knows and how he knows them. And
Interesting.
so he throws a party and to celebrate his innocence from killing this innocent woman, which not ironically, but interesting enough, the author based that opening scene off something that actually happened 2 years earlier, where a wealthy man shot a waitress in the middle of a party and I believe was found innocent.
Oh my goodness.
So I thought that was just really cool that he kind of tied in something that actually did happen. But yeah, so he celebrates at this party. He is murdered at the party from a gunshot. There are 6 people at the party with guns. So that is chapter 1.
That is only
That's
chapter 1.
chapter 1. The rest of the book follows all these 6 people. Some of it starts like 2 years earlier, following this person telling their story, and it cuts back and forth between the people.
Ooh.
And so you're finding out how they all intertwine and how they all came to be at this party at the same time. One guy is this guy from Texas, one's an Indian movie star, one's a diplomat, and I mean, there's just all walks of life. So I'm not going to give away any of the ending, but it's a really fun read. Interesting with the class system in India. I thought that was really neat. And you have to figure out who killed him. So
Goodness gracious.
yeah, so interesting. Now this one, I love Sonali Dev.
Yeah.
She writes a lot of novels about India. This one is the first in a series. It's called Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors. She has the series going where she based a novel off of the Jane Austen novel. Now, the next one on the list is A Recipe for Persuasion, and then the one coming out this year is Incense and Sensibility. And they all tie together. So the characters you see in this one are going to play out in the next ones.
Yeah.
So of course this one is based off of Pride and Prejudice, except kind of they have a gender reversal where the doctor, Trisha Raja, is of Indian aristocracy, and DJ is an up-and-coming chef. And of course their first meeting, they kind of butt heads like they do in Pride and Prejudice, sets the tone for the rest of the novel. But yeah, I mean, it's a really cute storyline. It puts you in a different perspective, but still with that class system that's going on with Pride and Prejudice. But I thought she worked it really well, and it's just a Bollywood kind of style book, I just really like her writing. So if you've never read her and you want something fun, she's a really fun writer, and she has a lot of books in our system. This one I found when I was shelving books last year, and I just started laughing. Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows. The title just got me. I know. And it is not what you think. The title is what's going to catch you. But it's really interesting. Now, the author is actually from Singapore, but she has ties to India. So she does write about what she knows. This came out in 2017. She's traveled, lived all over the world, but this is mainly just set in London, the West London. It was a Reese Witherspoon pick back in 2018. A young woman who feels that she has disappointed her family decides to start teaching English to people in the community center in West London. Now, what she thinks she's doing is teaching a lit class. What she finds out she's doing is actually teaching reading and writing to Indian women who never learned to read and write.
Oh.
So it's a very different job than she expected. But one day she brings a romance novel to class, and someone finds it, and it gets the women talking about their lives, talking about love, talking about just, again, how women are treated in their culture, the fears they have, the wishes they had, stuff like that. And it does, there is a romance aspect to this. It's not center stage. And it does talk about different relationships. Some are, just women who have always pigeonholed themselves, and then later on in life they realize that they have a lot more to choose from in life. It's got sad parts. It's very much just how women are marginalized in a lot of cultures. So even though the title is catchy, it does touch on some pretty serious topics. But I enjoyed it. It was a fun read. So
It's good.
definitely would go well with this very Indian wood.
Yeah. That's so good. All my psychedelic colors, all your awesome Indian colors. There's actually a holiday nearby, an Indian holiday day that involves throwing colored palettes at each other. It's very soon. It's either very soon or will just have passed by the time this is airing. But anyway, we are done with this episode. We hope you come by Yellowhammer, and thank you again to Yellowhammer. But we hope that you subscribe to the library's YouTube page. Go ahead and check out these books, and we'll see you next time.